Hello, my name is Mike Ritchie, and I'm the Interim Superintendent for the Soto Area School District.
Hi, I'm Holly Nicolati, your school board president, proud parent, alumni, and community member.
The following presentation will help you understand why the DeSoto Area School District is going to an operational referendum on April 1st. We will educate our public on what happens if this referendum passes, and also a detailed plan of what happens if this referendum were to fail.
And further, to educate you on where to vote and who to speak to for more information. Throughout the presentation, a link will be present and on how to register and the date and times voting takes place. Thank you, and on to the presentation.
So let's talk about that April 1st, 2025 operational referendum for the DeSoto Area School District. The purpose of this presentation is to share information with you, really do a nice job communicating what we're going to do, and also what are those next steps. So let's go through our presentation. In the presentation, we want to discuss the following. Why are we going to an operational referendum? What is our plan moving forward? What impact is this going to have on your tax rate or the mill rate? What does this mean for your family? Where do I vote? What time are the polls open? And how do I get more information? So the biggest question out there is, why do we have to go to an operational referendum? I think this next video, it's a very short video, really does a nice job explaining how school funding works in Wisconsin. So please watch this video, and I think it's going to answer a lot of your questions in regards to, what are those key impacts of Wisconsin school funding, and again, why do we have to go to an operational referendum?
Our public schools are the cornerstone of our community. The education and opportunities we provide for students today shape their futures and ours. Schools, like any organization, need money to operate. But in Wisconsin, funding the needs of our schools has been a growing challenge. State policy limits how much school districts can spend. The vast majority of school funding comes from a combination of state dollars and local property taxes. It's called the revenue limit, and it acts as a cap per student that school districts can spend each year. Even if school costs go above this level, schools can't spend any more than this limit. From 1994 to 2009, these revenue caps were adjusted for inflation, which meant they helped schools keep up with ongoing needs. But since 2010, the resources districts need to survive have fallen farther and farther behind the basic costs to operate our schools. By the end of 2025, the revenue limit will have fallen more than $3,300 per student behind inflation. With a district of 1,000 students, that's a decrease of more than $3 million. What's more, each district has a different revenue cap, and these caps are not tied to the needs of the students or the costs to the schools that serve them. Our job as a school district is to make sure all of our students have access to the exceptional educational opportunities we provide, no matter what their needs when they walk through our doors. But state funding falls short of what it costs to meet the specific needs of many of our students. When that happens, we have to use money from our general fund to cover the difference, which means taking dollars from other important needs. The largest portion of our budget goes towards staffing. Our people are the heart of our schools. Without enough educators who instruct, support, and inspire learning, schools can't provide the lessons, programs, and opportunities our students deserve. Other important budget items include curriculum, technology, transportation, operations, and maintenance. School districts work hard to balance their budgets, yet resources for schools have been shrinking year after year since 2010. With costs growing so much faster than funding, districts are always looking for ways to trim costs and work smarter, like deferring needed school maintenance, cutting programs, reducing staff, and many other strategies. But schools can only cut so much before they start to harm educational opportunities for their students. To maintain class sizes, keep up with rising costs, take care of school buildings, and protect high-quality instruction, many districts have turned to their community to help fill the state-imposed funding gap. Since the arrival of revenue limits, over 80% of school districts have done so by asking local voters to raise their caps through an operating referendum. Most have used the option multiple times. Our children don't have time to wait for state policymakers to fix the school funding system. By putting the needs of our students first, we are investing in their potential and the future of our whole community. Strong schools make strong communities where families want to move and stay. Learn more about school finance in Wisconsin by visiting our websites.
So the reality is, hey, we're not alone in this. And as you can see on this slide, a number of our neighboring school districts will also be going to a referendum on April 1st. And then what you can also see is over the past year, 206 of our Wisconsin school districts have gone to a referendum. And on April 1st, there'll be another 61 school districts going to an operational referendum. And this just includes operational referendums. This does not include any construction or building referendums. Strictly operational. So now let's look at the financial information about our district and where we're going from here. The DeSoto School District is interesting because it's a very long, narrow district all along the Mississippi River, and we are considered to be a small school district of about 450 students. But we operate 3 small schools. We operate an elementary school in Stoddard, an elementary school, which is a Prairie View Elementary School, and also we have a high school, middle school, which is in DeSoto. And so the fact that we have 3 small schools is really difficult to balance the budget when we have 3 times the cost for certain fixed cost items. And so that is part of our referendum deficit or budget deficit when we operate 3 small schools. So as you'll learn throughout this presentation, we do have a plan in place to address this issue and get more feedback from our stakeholders. But what we want to make sure that we accomplish is just trying to show you what this means for our school district. So looking at the majority of where does our financial revenue go, and this slide represents that over half of our budget, or over 50% of our budget, goes into salaries and benefits. And if you were to compare this to other school districts, you would note that for the majority of those districts, it's actually higher than 50%. It may be closer to 60 or 70%, but in DeSoto, in our school district, we're just over 50%. And then this slide also breaks down then where the other chunks or portion of our budget goes. So when we talk about our operational referendum, it's a 3-year non-recurring referendum, which means it will go away after 3 years. So the money we're asking for will be for the 2025-26, 2026-27, and 2027-28 school years. And this slide represents what we're going to be asking for. And so you can see in year 1, we are asking for 1.3 million, and then in year 2, we're asking for 1.4 million, and in year 3, we're asking for 1.5 million, for a total of $4.2 million. Now, where this gets a little bit complicated is the budget deficit. So if you look at the 3-year budget deficit, it exceeds the 4.2 million. So the actual deficit is it's over $4.3 million. And you can see the breakdown for each of those 3 years. So we're actually asking for less money than what our total budget deficit will be over those next 3 years. So what is our plan moving forward? Well, another negative impact on our budget is not only our declining enrollment, but in Wisconsin we have open enrollment, so students are allowed to attend any school district that they choose to go to. And so unfortunately here in DeSoto, we have 71 students that do transfer out of our school district, and they go to our neighboring school district. And we do have 26 students that do enroll into our district from other districts, but we need to flip those numbers so we can gain more revenue. And then on this slide, you can actually see what the cost is per student that leaves our district.
Coming out of the November referendum, this board got to work. We recognized that it was really essential that we spend time being deliberate about what is the feedback we heard in the community from our parents, from our students, from our stakeholders, and really understand what are their priorities and how do we best serve them. We developed a strategic process that we'll use to guide us throughout the year as we evolve all of the priorities that we have developed as a school board. Immediately following the November 5th referendum, as I mentioned, we got busy. The next two slides cover the timeline of activities that we intend to complete throughout the next year to supplement and prepare our long-range plan. Again, starting right away, coming out of the referendum on the 12th of November, we worked to develop what are those board priorities? What are those 4 or 5 things that are most important and impactful to the voice of the stakeholders across our community? We evolved from there, moving into our enrollment study, really getting a picture of what do our enrollment trends look like and how can we use that information to guide us going forward. From there, working at the facilities side. So, we know what our population is. Now we need to think about how can our facilities support them? Is there a different structure that we need to consider? Is there, other physical changes that would improve the education that we deliver to the students, and what changes do we need to make? Those activities are ongoing and immediately started based on these timelines here. And then evolving from there, we look forward to the operational referendum. That will help guide the remainder of the activities to some degree over the course of the remaining months of 2025. Starting in April, we'll form our district strategic objectives advisory committee. That committee will get to work taking a look at the outcomes of the surveys and studies that we've mentioned in the previous slide, and they'll start to understand what are the options that we have available to us in the district, and what are the different levers that we should consider. From there, we'll start to develop the school perception survey, and that'll get distributed or disseminated to all of the members within our community so that we understand your voice in what the geographic footprint or what the physical footprint of our district might look like going forward, and any changes that we might need to consider. As we get the responses back, the committee again kind of gets back to work and starts to distill down that information, understand the feedback and the voice of our community members, and prepare to make some presentations and recommendations to the board at the end of December. This slide summarizes the overall plan for all of the strategic objectives that we've developed as a board, and we've socialized and aligned to with our staff. It kind of walks through each of the different elements and the deliverables or the actions that we'll be taking within those time periods, but all culminating in what is our aligned vision for our future? What does good look like? And how do we evolve our mission and values and our culture to meet with those voices or those perspectives that we're hoping to gain through the various surveys and all of the different activities we have documented here from our community stakeholders, again, our parents, our students, our teachers, to help evolve our overall trajectory as a school district. As you recall from the last slide, we have 4 objectives that we've settled on as a district. One of them, the very top layer, is that long-range plan. One of the key pieces in developing that plan is understanding what and how we can use our facilities and or how we might need to evolve our footprint to some degree if that happens. What we're looking to get out of that study is really understanding what is our long-range enrollment projections. How many schools can we feasibly operate? Again, what does good look like across our community and our stakeholders from that perspective? How might we structure our grades to fit our facility needs or our enrollment trends? Will our buildings require upgrades to allow for those changes to happen? We really need to understand what those levers are again, and what the impact or cost impact might be to them. And then also, based on those things, what does our administrative structure need to look like? How do we ensure that we've got the right level of support to meet some of those other objectives that we talked about, while being conscious of our fiscal obligations and our various guardrails that we have to meet in order to continue to offer a strong education for our students. As we've alluded to in our previous slides, the board has settled on what we think are the 4 highest priority objectives that are most impactful to meeting the goals that we kind of outlined in some of the previous slides and the timelines. So I'll kind of walk you through those The first one being develop our long-range plan. We went through a lot of detail, right, about the various surveys that we're going to do, the outcomes, how we'll present those. The long-range plan is meant to establish a long-range plan that considers our enrollment forecasts, our facility needs, community input, and revenue forecasts. Work to establish and brand our mission and vision to incorporate community stakeholders, staff, school board, in meaningful partnerships that will guide us. We recognize we've got some opportunity here, and I think it's really important that we consider how we can develop and execute strategies to materially improve our DPI report card and scores, and also reduce barriers to education and set milestone goals for iterative achievement as we evolve. Employee retention, really essential to achieving our academic excellence goals, is retaining the staff that we have. We have some of the most amazing and dedicated teachers and support staff within our district. So we really need to focus on developing and executing strategies to decrease our employee turnover, improve culture and morale, improve job satisfaction, and retain our really valued staff.
So the big question is, what happens if this referendum fails? So the two big factors here I really want to emphasize is the board is going to be forced to make decisions without getting recommendations from the stakeholders. And there is a law out there, it's called Act 141, a low revenue ceiling, where we're actually going to get penalized if this referendum fails. I want to repeat that. So our revenues are going to be frozen and we're going to be penalized if this referendum fails. So let me explain a little more on this next slide. The way the law reads is what happens is because we had a failed referendum during the 2024-25 school year, if this referendum fails, then the law states that our low revenue ceiling will be froze at that current rate, and the current rate is $11,000 per student. So typically there would be an increase every year of that revenue, of that low revenue ceiling. And if this referendum fails, you can see by this slide, our revenue at $11,000 per child will be frozen for the 2025-26 school year, 2026-27 school year, and 2027-28 school year. So this is like double jeopardy, where we actually need more money, but if we fail the referendum, we are not going to get the money we're asking for, but we're going to have less money to operate because of this, what we will call a penalty based on the Act 141 that was created back in 2017. The honest answer here is if we continue to fail referendums, the district will eventually need to talk about dissolving. And what that means is that this district will be broken up into chunks of different portions and will be going to other school districts. And so a couple things I want to emphasize is number one, there are some people that think if we dissolve as a school district, you're not going to pay taxes in DeSoto. And that is simply not true. Every piece of property is going to be assigned to a school district. So if this school district does in fact dissolve in the future, you're going to be paying school taxes to either Seneca, North Crawford, Viroqua, La Crosse, or Westby, because pieces of our district will then be attached to those other school districts. In reference or in comparison to the other school districts, you're going to pay less in DeSoto than you would in the other school districts. So how will these referendum funds be used? A few things that we're going to be doing is, number one, we can bring back some of those budget cuts that were implemented over the past. We would certainly like to look at the possibility of what impact not having a late bus, what does that have on our participation level? Our tutoring programs that were cut, some of our students need that extra help. So we would certainly want to look, at those things. We have to continue to update our curriculum and offer what's best for our students. Also with that, we've got some technology updates, some curriculum updates that we really want to make sure our students are getting that quality education that they deserve. The big thing here is we've got 2 staff positions that we really would like to add to our staffing needs. And so one was a budget cut. We have a situation at one of the elementary schools where we have 1 teacher actually teaching 2 grades. She's teaching a 2nd and 3rd grade at the same time. And so those children deserve to have their own teacher. So if this referendum does pass, the plan is to have a teacher at each level at our elementary schools. And then the other need that we have is currently we have an intern as a school counselor. With all of the mental health issues going on today with our students, it's really critical that we have a full-time counselor at our elementary schools. So another big question I do get is, what is this going to cost my family? If this referendum passes, what is that tax implication? So you can see this current school year, the mill rate's at $5.43. So if this referendum passes, so for the next school year, the mill rate will increase to $7.64. So you can see the difference in the chart, what you're going to pay in property taxes. But the good news here is if you look at year 2 and year 3 of the referendum, that mill rate substantially decreases after the first year. So when we look at our tax information and what does it really cost to educate a student in our school district, this is really, I think, sends a message loud and clear, where we actually had more for our revenue limit back in 2014-15 than we do today for the 2024-25 school year. And so think about your household, think about your family, your needs. So 10 years ago, we have more money to operate, but yet over those 10 years, all those fixed costs have gone up, lots of salary increases, lots of other things out of our control that we have to pay for, but yet we have less dollar amount to pay for what we need to operate every day. And so the other thing on this chart, you can see there is a per pupil increase that we should be receiving every year, but a number of those years over the past 10 years, that amount was froze. So there was actually no per pupil increase, and that also has a negative impact on your revenue limit. We are very happy to show this slide where you can see that the Soto Area School District has the lowest mill rate of all of our neighboring school districts that we're comparing to here. Yet that's part of the reason why we're in this situation where we need to go to an operational referendum. So if you look at the other districts, you can see that they pay a substantial amount more with their mill rate and their taxes. So again, just recapping, what is that dollar amount for the April 1st referendum? Again, year 1, 1.3 million, year 2, 1.4 million, and year 3 is 1.5 million. And this dollar amount is less than what we asked for back in November of 2024. This chart represents what the DeSoto Area School District spends per child. So when you look and compare to the other school districts, you can see that we are on the bottom end of spending per child. We think that is a good thing for our taxpayers. It shows that we are fiscally responsible. And again, it just proves the need, again, why we're asking for this operational referendum. It's not about continuing to ask taxpayers for money. We need to do a good job in trying to figure out how can we raise more money, how can we generate more revenue for our school district. So a couple of things that we can do. One of the biggest impacts we have, and I should say negative impacts we have on our budget, is our open enrollment. So you can see from this slide the numbers. So as those numbers increase open enrolled out, that is going to give us less revenues to work with. And so what we really want to do is work hard on flipping the outs and ins. So we want to have more ins than outs, which will generate revenue for our school district. But before we can do that, we know we have to offer a quality education. And again, this referendum dollar amount will certainly help us offer a quality education to all of our students. Other things that we can look at, we have an option of a virtual school. We actually offer our own virtual school here in DeSoto. Currently, we only have 12 students. So our goal would be to shoot for 50 open enrolled students into our virtual school, which would give us a substantial revenue base to work off of, and that will also increase our financial picture. Other things that we've discussed, that we've talked about, with the last referendum, with this referendum, is just to explore the idea of a district operated daycare. That will make it very convenient for families. It'll make it, maybe families will want to stay here because daycare would be available, and maybe we would recruit or attract other families knowing that we have a district operated daycare. Also, look at exploring an option of going to an all-day pre-kindergarten program. Some of our neighboring districts offer all-day 4-year-old kindergarten or pre-kindergarten, and it's a great perk for those families. It's great for education for the student, and again, it's a great driving force or recruitment tool for those families that like the option of having a 4-year-old kindergarten program or a pre-kindergarten program that actually serves students all day long. And then look at some grant opportunities. Are there other opportunities out there for the district to look at trying to obtain some grants? Again, that referendum question, where do I vote and what do I need if I want more information? So this slide shows the actual referendum question. So this is how you will see the ballot. This is the actual wording that will be on the ballot, and then you'll have a box where you will have to check yes or no. So where do I vote? The polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and we have a website here. So if you click on the website or you talk to your municipality, you'll be able to determine where you go and vote. But we do have 9 different municipalities across our district, so make sure you do know where you have to go and vote. And regardless of how you vote, your vote is important. So please remember to get out there and vote on April 1st. If you need more information, please feel free to reach out. Contact me at 608-648-0101 or email me at mritchie@desoto.k12.wi.us. You can also scan the QR code. It'll take you to our website. We do have referendum information on that website. I really hope this video helped. And if you have questions, if you want to schedule a meeting, please give me a call, drop me an email, and we can arrange to have another conversation regarding this very important referendum. Just want to say thank you for watching. And again, I can't emphasize it enough, your vote's important. Please get out and vote on April 1st and contact us if you have other questions. Thank you, and don't forget to vote.